This is probably, to my mind, the most outrageous way you can play your blues scale. It's going to involve tapping and legato and a whole lot of shred, and it sounds like this. Okay, so here we have an absolutely outrageous ascending tapping blues scale line. If you're looking for ways to implement this, I do actually have another lesson on interesting uses for the blues scale. In this very series of lessons, you might think about playing this line in that context, but for the time being, we're going to assume that we're playing the E blues scale, which is essentially going to be our minor pentatonic with the inclusion of a B flat note, which is going to give us the flat 5. That's actually where we're going to begin. Now, there are two crucial shapes that we need for this lick. We're going to begin with the first shape down here with finger number 1 on fret number 6 on your low E string. Finger number 2 is going to deal with fret number 7, and finger number 4 is going to stretch all the way up to fret number 10. I'm going to encourage you to get the bones of your wrist right underneath the fretboard of your guitar for this one, because there are some big stretches, and this is going to help you get those with ease and without getting too tense. Now, once we played this, we're then going to tap 2 frets higher with the middle finger from our right hand. You can use any finger you want. I'm very much a middle finger type guy if I'm tapping just a single note on a string. It's just the way I like to do things, but first fingers are also okay. So for argument's sake, our first shape is going to look like this. And the way we're going to sequence this shape and also the next shape is we're going to go all the way from the bottom, hammering on up to the top. We'll tap and then pull off all the way back down, hammer on back up, but then we're not going to tap again. So we'll get this. And this is actually a 9-note pattern, so you could sequence this as essentially a group and a half of 16th note triplets, or you could do it as a single 9-note to a beat kind of phrase, depending on how fast you want to play this stuff. I'm not going to say faster is better, but it's certainly more fun. So anyway, we've got this single phrase. The next shape that we need is going to be finger number 1, and that's going to go on fret number 7 on your A string. Again, we're going to stretch out. Third fingers are going to do fret number 10, and fourth fingers will do fret number 12, and we'll tap 1 fret higher here, which is going to give us our flat 5 note, same as the lowest note on the previous string. So 1 fret higher here, and the sequence will be the same. We'll hammer on from nowhere this time. We'll hammer on all the way up, tap, come all the way back down, come all the way back up, but then we don't tap the second time round, like this. So playing those two sequences together, we're going to get this. From here, it's a simple case of sequencing the same 2 shapes, but in octaves. So the next one will be the same shape as our first string with the same series of intervals, but we're going to begin here on fret number 8, which is also a B flat note, on the D string this time, which gives us this. And then it's a simple case of going back to the second shape, this time starting on fret number 9 on your G string, like this. We'll then have the same 2 shapes again, but this time it's going to be on B fret number 11 and E fret number 12. This time we have an option for where we can tap. We can either tap 1 fret higher, or we can tap 2 frets higher, which we'll get to in a second for our big screaming bend. For the sake of demonstration, let's tap 1 fret higher though, which will give us this. And once we're done with this high E sequence, we're then going to tap onto fret number 19 on the high E string, and then using the strength of our left hand, we'll bend this note up by a whole 3 frets, which is going to give us this. You can even apply a little vibrato at the top. Bear in mind that the vibrato and the bend both come from the left hand. The right hand is just along for the ride, so don't try and do this with the vibrato. It never sounds good. This hand is very good at doing vibrato. It's been doing it for a long time. It's kind of new to this one. So this is just coming along for the ride. Once we've done that, we're going to release the bend, and then we'll pull off to fret number 15 and fret number 12 using finger 3 and finger 1, both on the high E string like this. And that is a way of articulating a very classic blues cliche using our tapping technique. And the fact that we've strung this little blues phrase on the end goes a long way towards making up for the silliness that we've just committed, this kind of crime against music. And it really does go a long way towards making things feel a little bit more resolved and a bit more musical. And you might even get away with playing this in your band. So for argument's sake, let's take the whole line slowly. It's going to look and sound something like this. Now, somewhat paradoxically, it's actually a lot harder to play this line slowly than it is to play it quickly once you have it under your fingers. And the reason for that is momentum. Now, when you're playing these kind of legato lines at speed, you can actually use a motion of the wrist and a degree of forearm motion to get a certain amount of momentum up when you hit and when you brush off the strings for your pull-offs. However, when you're playing it slowly, you might need to apply a little more force to actually make the hammer-ons and pull-offs come out. For that reason, what I'm going to encourage you to do is not to worry too much about how loud these hammer-ons and pull-offs are when you're practicing them. That will come when you're playing at speed and you've got a little bit more velocity under your fingers. So there you go, guys. That is an outrageous blues scale line. I hope you have lots of fun with this and look for potential applications for this line and perhaps other lines that maybe this octaves approach will inspire. My name's Nick Jennison. This has been a lesson brought to you by Elixir Strings, and I will see you next time.